Hey, it's me, Romania Black, and it's been about a year. I'm gonna be honest with you. It has been about like a year since I read part 9 of Run with the Wind by Shion Miura, and I have kept wanting to go back to this book, but a couple things have kept me from doing a live reading of this book. One, these chapters are like in just 10 parts, so this last part's 100 pages. And the last time I was recording, I don't know if you watched those videos, I literally have been jaded. My throat was raw. I was like, I couldn't speak for maybe 3 or 4 days after that because I just had read so much and it wasn't healthy. And I've learned some things since then. Like I'm going to be reading Thousand Autumns later this spring. And so I've basically learned to tell myself, okay, 20 to 30 pages is about your limit, girl. Then you got to save your vocal cords and then let them rest and then go back to it. So lessons were learned. That was great. But I want a preface of what happened. I came into this book with an expectation because the anime is absolutely amazing. Run with the Wind is one of my favorite sports animes. I love that one. Haiji and Kakeru are one of my favorite ships. I love them. I love the fan art with them. I love the fan fiction. I've read so much of it. I love it. And the anime itself is full of subtext to the point where it's basically context of Haiji and Kakeru's relationship. And so when I started the novel, I had been told that the author, Shio Miura's original script was to make it ABL. And there are lots of moments in this novel, as you've seen from my previous readings, that have alluded to them being, in a relationship, especially Haiji being in love with Kakeru. Like that's been non-negotiable throughout the book. But as I was getting further into this, I was starting to get a little annoyed because one thing I don't like being baited, and I don't like being told something and then being given something else. It feels like a bait and switch. It feels inauthentic. And around part 6 or 7, I was getting worried because all of this about Kakeru liking Hana, and I was like, when was this ever a thing? It's not a thing in the anime. They've cut that plot line out, which is great because it just lets the Kakeru and Haiji storyline kind of sift through. But here it was starting to come back, and I was like, are we really doing this? So I just kind of became disinterested in reading the rest of the book because I was afraid that my ship of Haiji and Kakeru was not going to be fully realized. And then I went and read this book, and then I cried a lot about it because felt very disingenuous about it. And so I was like, why am I crying over a damn ship in a story? Like I usually don't get, like I usually multi-ship. I'm usually not a big like shipper, but this felt personal, especially because I really enjoyed the novel. But the one aspect about it was like, what the fudge? So I had some comments along the way, like Anime Annie, who I'm reading their comment here for part 7, said, what I took from IG's continued remarks regarding Hana-chan and the twins was that Kakeru needs to sit the twins down and make them less clueless, which ends up happening in the final part of it, although Kakeru is a little jealous of them. He just somehow realized that we're going to talk about that in this. And then a lukewarm water for part 9 said, I think Kakeru liking Hana doesn't go that far because I think from what I've read, she blushes more to Joji. No, we're going to talk about that. Knowing Kakeru and Joda, I'm sure they're equally as happy. Also, I don't really get the Hana and Kakeru agenda. As someone who's religiously rewatched the anime, it was jarring to see Hana in the novel. Yeah, because we have no deeper connection between her and Kakeru beyond being friends by proxy. Yeah, exactly. The anime just leaves that storyline out, which I'm fine with. It makes me wonder if the anime was adapted to Shion Miura's original version, the symbolism that was covered in the anime. I see, that was my thing. I was going into this novel thinking that this was the original version, right? And a couple things. I talked with Zero Anti-Zero in the Discord. They were kind of like a therapist for me as I was like just grieving this final part of the book. And I'm here in my PJs talking with you because it's the end of the year and I feel like we need to have like a New Year's Eve chat before we get into this. But yeah, I was just like, Just in time for the new year, we're going to talk about the final part, chapter 10 of Run with the Wind, so that I can finally, my goal for this year was I was like, I need to finish this book. Even if I just read it and talk to you about it in this video, I need to read it, talk to you all about it so that I can move on, because I have 2 books that I want to read in 2026 and write and do reviews for the channel. And I'm like, no, you need to finish what you start. It's not going to be like that one fan fiction you're still haven't finished in like 3 years. Like, just get into it. So that's what we're going to do. So I have been a monster in earmarked pages because that's the kind of monster I was with this book, but I'm going to unearmark them as we go. So that's what this book is going to be like. This video is going to be talking briefly, maybe briefly. I've already talked for 5 minutes with you all and we haven't even started about this final part, my thoughts, and then where we go to from here, which is basically you should watch the Hakeone race every New Year's Eve, every New Year's. I might actually put this video out a little bit before New Year's Eve and New Year's so that you can go try to find it online. You can find it online. Japan live streams it so that you can go watch this too, because it's really fun to watch. I watched it last year and it was such a cool experience on New Year's to watch the race, and it was just neat to watch the recap of it anyway. So the final chapter part, which is like 100 pages, is Meteor. Part 10 is Meteor. Meteor is describing Kakeru and how Haiji views him as a meteor streaking across the sky, which, let's just get this out of the way. Haiji is in love with Kakeru. The book all but says it in black and white. Haiji is basically in love with Kakeru. Fujioka's a little bit jealous. Fujioka's a little bit jealous in the book, a little wee bit. It's kind of hinted at. But mainly it's about just the last part of the anime. So part 10 starts up with Yuki getting ready for his leg of the race and him and Shindo. I want to be honest, the part about Kakeru and his like for Hana or Hana-chan is my only qualm with the book for reasons that we'll get into. But honestly, this last part of the book is amazing. I really loved it. I loved Yuki's story about his part of the race. We get a little bit more insight into his family and that dynamic. We get a little... Yuki in the novel is painted a little bit, I guess because we get his internal monologues, he's painted a little more sympathetic than he is in the anime. But there's some really cool parts, like him warming up. There was a really cool little scene where he's like getting ready in the lobby and it's like 5 a.m. and the lobby lady that's out like at the front desk like talks to him, and I love little tiny character developing moments, and they're just sprinkled throughout this first part, which is so beautiful. But I think my favorite part about the Yuki run, because the Yuki episode is amazing. Like, we all know this. My favorite part of the beginning is when Yuki is outside just trying to warm himself up and he's already awake and he feels good. He's like, I felt the same way. I love this little tidbit. He's like, I felt the same way going into this race as I did when I was taking the LSAT, when I was taking my law exam. He's like, I felt the same way. I feel the same way. I've got that same good vibe. I think it's going to be good. And it's like, okay. And my favorite part aside from that is that Shindo wakes up and he goes down to the lobby and sees Yuki, and he feels a little bit better, and he's like, hey, let's just jog a little bit and talk. And they go outside and they jog, and it's kind of like they have a little conversation. He gets warmed up and everything for the race, and it's really sweet. It's really good. And I don't really ship Shindo and Yuki, but they have this little moment of friendship that's just so beautiful, and I'm all about it, and it's great. So what can we do? So anyway, we get into the novel where they get to the race thing, and Joji likes Hana, as we come to find out, and Hana likes Joji, and it's kind of revealed in the novel that she likes Joji of the twins more than Joda. And so Kakeru finally is like, you know, Hanako told me the same thing once. He's like, why do you bring Hana up? And then Kakeru, he's like, are you doing this on purpose, or are you really just clueless? And Joji lost his patience at Kakeru's left field answer and turned to face him. Listen, I like Hana. I know, you do. How? Nico-senpai said on the phone yesterday. And so he's like, Kakeru, are you okay with me asking her out? And Kakeru's like, well, why does he have to check with me? It's like everyone made up their mind that I have a crush on Hanako. And so at this point, this is the part that made me kind of mad, is because it's like everyone in the book has been like, oh, Kakeru, you have a crush on Hana, don't you? You have a crush on Hana, don't you? And instead of Kakeru being like, I don't like her that way, we're just friends, he says the shock sent him reeling, like that plummeted sensation on the brink of sleep. I do like Hanako. He'd been even slower on the uptake than all the twins all the time, but his feelings for her had always been such a quiet, natural presence in his heart that he hadn't even noticed it until now. Kakeru had always held on to his memories of Hanako as if they were treasure pieces. The color of her scarf when they'd walked home together, her profile as she gazed at the team's practice under the billowing clouds, which towered over the summer sky, her slender back when he saw her for the first time speeding down the arcade on her bicycle. Kakeru's gaze had been fixed on Hanako, and for all that time, Hanako's gaze had only followed the twins. So that's how it was. Kakeru was surprised by his own feelings, which he finally recognized, plain and simple. And I'm not going to get emotional because that's stupid, but it just was like, it feels so tacked on and added. And I felt kind of bad because I was like, well, I don't want to do like bisexual erasure because bisexuality is a thing. Like, it's a very real thing. And so I'm like, well, maybe Kakeru's bisexual and he likes Hana and he likes Haiji. But I just felt like for all the moments that we had with Haiji and Kakeru, it's like, instead of Haiji going, oh, wait, I love Haiji. Instead, he's like, oh, I like Hana. And I'm like, but where did this come from? Like, but why? And why is it because you've been peer pressured into it almost, right? So he says this wasn't a competition. Hanako's heart was Hanako's. Joji's was Joji's, just as Kakeru's belonged only to himself. No one else could seize it or bend it to his will. The realm of the heart was free from judgment, and there was no way of measuring what felt inside of it as well. Kakeru was glad to discover something inside of himself, this gentle yet powerful emotion that had nothing to do with either speed or competition. This realization only made Hanako seem more dear to him. She was the only one who taught him this unfamiliar feeling. If Hanako's love was requited, Kakeru would be happy too. And so I was like, okay, well, Kakeru's realized, he's like, oh, I did like her, but she likes the twins, whatever. And so then there was this thing of, besides, he says, I'm used to running long distances. Being patient is my thing. I can wait for my chance. Hanako might like the twins now, but that doesn't mean that she will forever. So he's basically saying, like, he'll go like her and ask her out later on. And it just felt like, I don't know. It felt, I don't want to say straight baiting, but it did feel kind of like the story was going to have him end up with her, which we'll talk about at the very end. But I was really frustrated at that point, and I was like, well, hell, why can't we admit that we like Haiji? But see, I'm getting emotional, and it's so stupid. But anyway, so then we get to, I feel like Yuki when his family shows up, and he's like, this is so embarrassing. I don't know why it makes me so emotional, but I was just so pissed. I think it's the idea that, like, your canon couple isn't canon, and you're like, what? But anyway, so Yuki finishes his leg of the track, and he only misses the record score by like 2 seconds, which I feel bad for Yuki. He's like, I got so close! And then Nico has his run. And Nico's run, I'll be honest, Nico's run is probably one of my least favorite runs in the whole race. Like, I don't mind it, and I love Nico's character so much. But at that point in the race, I feel like they make Nico's run just kind of... It's basically about the same concepts we've talked about with Nico, about him kind of overcoming his own personal, like, views of himself as a runner and kind of like his goal along the way. And he relates it to Haiji, which is really good. But yeah, so we get further on into this. I really liked King's section. King's section was really good. I liked King's section because he talks about, like, him not having a lot of friends, which the King section was really good. I feel like I liked the King section of the novel more than I liked in the anime. The anime version of King's part was fine, but I really like, for some reason, they let Sakaki be mainly in King section, which it's like that way in the anime as well. But Sakaki has, I guess because Kakeru is dealing with Fujioka and that's like their rivalry in this, Sakaki becomes King's rival in the novel for reasons, and King's just like, I don't even know you, bro. And it's really funny, but I feel like it works out really well because Sakaki has that, like, distanced former friendship with Kakeru, and King's portion of the novel and the race is about him, like, not connecting with people. So there is a really cool part where Sakaki and him kind of, they understand each other during the race, which is really nice. But I love when he talks about, in here, he's like talking about Haiji, and he's like, I'm no match for that guy. He always could see right through me. And so then it talks about how he's like, each of the residents at the Chikuse had someone that they really got along with. There was Kiyose and Kakeru. There was Yuki and Nico. There were the twins and Prince. There was Musa and Shindo. Friends who somehow gravitated towards each other, who often ended up hanging out together without having to ask or fix a time. They could sit in comfortable silence, each doing whatever he liked in the same room. King saw scenes like that countless times. He never himself had such a close friend in his life. He could have fun with anyone, but that was as far as it went. And that made me so sad because he talks about disliking himself, but he says that in running, everything is different. He's like, everyone counts on everybody in the race, so you can't be left out. And that part, like, honestly, reading King's part made me get a little misty-eyed because I was like, oh, that's so sad. But I really related to King in this portion of it. And he does such a good job in the race, and I loved his, like, inner thoughts. And he's like, wait till I get there, Haiji. I'll give you a whole lecture about it, Otomachi. I was just like, I just really liked King's monologue that he had, and then him relating to Sakaki. And then I love his point here saying, Haiji, you said you wondered whether this was all a dream. To tell you the truth, I really wish it was a dream. At first, we started running because you dragged us into it, and I was only going with the flow. I was like, Hakeone Ekiden. I don't know. It sounds cool. I didn't want to be the only one left out. I didn't want to feel even more out of place than I already was. But now it's different. The Hakeone Ekiden isn't just your dream anymore, Haiji. It's a dream for all 10 of us. I've gotten so into running. It's deep, it's painful, but it's fun. Our team, the way we're working together towards the same goal, gives me a rush. Just like racing to hit the buzzer in a quiz. And that's why I run. You know what, Haiji? I want this to be a dream. A dream so good I never want to wake up from it. I wish I could keep drifting through it forever. Like, that part was so freaking good. I loved King's section. It was fantastic. So yeah, so then Kakeru makes the promise to Kiyose to run and try to beat Fujioka's time. And of course he beats it 10 minutes after Fujioka makes the record. He beats it 10 minutes later. It's like the anime. It's so good. I love it. But then this part here, I'm like, so Kakeru has basically appeased all of the straight viewers by saying that he likes Hanako, and then everybody's like, well, he'll probably ask her out later or whatever. But then the rest of the novel, he's just all about Haiji, and I'm like, why don't you just say that you like Haiji? Just come out and say it, you son of a bitch. Because he's like, do you remember when I told you that I believed in you as a runner? To tell you the truth, Kiyose began gravely, that was a lie. What? Kakeru's voice flipped, and Joji looked up in surprise. It was a lie when I said I believe in you, Kiyose repeated. Kakeru felt like crying. Well, come on now, why tell me that now? What choice did I have, Kiyose sighed. We'd only known each other for about a month. How could I have known whether you were worth believing in or not? But if I hadn't said something like that, it looked like you'd never run in official meets or races again. It was a last resort if there ever was one. As he listened, Kakeru started to grasp what Kiyose was trying to tell him. So what about now? It was all he could do to keep his voice from sounding shrill in fear and anticipation. Say it, please. Tell me you believe in me. For real this time. Tell me that Kakeru Kurihara is the stronger, faster runner than anyone, and there's no way I'd lose to Fujioka. Now, after watching you run and being with you for the past year, Kiyose's voice slaked Kakeru's thirst like a deep, translucent lake. A word like believe just doesn't cut it. It's not about believing or not believing in you. You're just you. For me, Kakeru, you are and always will be the best runner. A rush of delight swept over Kakeru. That means the world to me. He's given me something irreplaceable. A light that will keep shining bright for as long as I live. What is that? Is that not love? Is that not love? So just fucking say it. I'm like, give me confirmation, damn it. Yep. And so he says, thank you for chasing me after that night in the spring, for guiding me to discover what it truly means to run, for trusting me and accepting me for who I am. I mean, I do agree that people point out that Kakeru saying it is more than saying that you like somebody, but it's just... And then right after that, after all of that, Kakeru says, Joji, I like Hanako too. Kakeru finally said it out loud, but it wasn't as if the world would change as a result. But I think it'd be nice to see you two happy together. At Kakeru's abrupt confession, Joji looked at him wide-eyed, but then his face broke into a grin. Well, don't beat me to the punch, Kakeru. I won't, Kakeru laughed with him, and he nodded back at Joji's wave and was about to step towards the line. So I'm like, I don't understand what the beat me to a punch is. Like, does he really like her, or is he just like, you win, but he said he wasn't before, so it's just like, just say you like Haiji and just... So then he sees Sakaki, and basically has like this whole thing about how much Kakeru's grown. And he's like, I know you have a grudge against me, but now I found a different way to move forward. I'm not using violence anymore. And so then King makes it back, and then Kakeru goes. And basically everything with Kakeru is about like it is in the anime in terms of him just like running the last like leg here and beating Fujioka's record. Like he gets the runner's high. It's really good. Like it's really good. And Haiji watching him, he's like, and I love Haiji in this point where he's like, don't tell anything to Kakeru. Let him run. Let him have this moment. He's on a runner's high. Don't say anything to distract him. Just let him go. And him just trusting. He's like, we shouldn't get in his way. No one should touch Kakeru right now. So yeah. So then basically he goes, and Kakeru talks about how he's always going to want to run forever, and how he's going to want to keep like craving to run and beat records and keep on doing it over and over again. He's like, all I want to do is run. He's like, it doesn't look like anyone here is going to beat my time. So yeah, and so it just goes on. He says before he met Kiyose, Kakeru hadn't realized the power lay hidden within him. He'd been running all along without really knowing what long-distance running meant as a sport. To run was to be strong. Strength wasn't speed. Rather, it laid in the runner's capability to connect with others while maintaining a sense of solitude. It was Haiji who taught me that. Haiji said the word believe doesn't cut it. I'm with him. A boundless confidence welled up in Kakeru's heart, a belief so unquestioned that using any word to describe it might feel like a lie. For the first time in my life, I learned how valuable it is to trust in someone and rely on other people other than myself. Running is like that too. No reason or motive. It's natural as breathing, and it keeps me alive. I guess my thing is like, I love the idea that people say it's like, well, what he has with Haiji is stronger than the words like or love, and it's more of like a queer experience that goes beyond just like heteronormative phrases. And I get that, and I like it. I'm just like, then it just feels like when he says he likes Hanako, it feels like he's cheating on Haiji. And I'm emotional because you don't cheat on Haiji. So anyway, Prince and them have all this banter back and forth, like we basically explain, and Haiji thinks that Fujioka's record is going to get beaten by Kakeru, but he's like, I don't want to give that away to Kakeru now. And so then, yeah, we have just basically Kakeru figuring out that he can beat Fujioka's time, and it's like this big deal. And so they basically go back through it, and Kyose's like, he'll be here soon, I can run. The stuff with Kyose running and hurting his knee, like that part was pretty intense. That part hurts a lot. And I love the idea that he's like, Haiji, we've come a long way, and we finally made it to this faraway place where words and flesh eventually lose all meaning. I mean, and then he passes the pole on to Haiji, and he keeps going. So yeah, everything basically is similar to the anime at this point. If you've watched episodes 23, and then they basically get back, and then we have the epilogue, which is towards the end. And the epilogue, here's the thing. Kyose has his moment where he's thinking about how he would run. I will say, one thing that I think the anime does better than the novel is including Haiji's dad. Haiji's dad, I kept waiting to see how that would present itself in the novel, and it doesn't manifest in the ways that you think it's going to. And so I think the anime did a better job incorporating the dad into the story, especially during the race with him watching and everything. I thought that was better done in the anime. So I was hoping that would be in the novel, but it's okay that it's not. We get a little bit of backstory about Haiji and how he almost went to Fujioka's school, but then he didn't think that he could do it. And then there was all his physical therapy and everything. So yeah. And so then they all meet back at the end of the race, and basically everything that happens with Kakeru catching him and everything, that's what ends up happening. So, but yeah. And so he's like, Haiji's gonna be fine. And then it's like, they're like, Yuki looked at Kakeru with pitiful eyes. You never learn, do you, Kakeru? And Kakeru's like, I don't care. He gazed out at the road in the direction Kyose would be coming. Haiji can trick me 100 times. If he says he'll run, I'll wait for him. I'll believe his every word till I see him break out into the best run of his life. I'll wait for him however long it takes. I'm like, and which is basically Kakeru talking about the long distance running thing again, like he did with Hanako. It's just with Haiji. I'm just like, make up your mind. Make up your mind, Kakeru. Are you going to go after Hanako or are you going after Haiji? Quit cheating on both of them. But it does sound like, he's accepted that it's very confusing because on the one hand, he's like, I've accepted that Hanako likes Joji and I'm not going to pursue her. But he's like, but, if she doesn't like Joji and Joda anymore, I'll be there for her. And it's like, just let him go. Just stop. So anyway, Haiji makes it back there to the finish line. And then it's like pain turned into a thick sweat gushing out of every pore of his body. Haiji's body started tilting sideways and he stood his ground and pushed on. He saw Kakeru standing near the finish, his face twisted like he was fighting back tears. He looked furious even as he choked back a desperate scream. Don't be silly, Kakeru. I'm all right. I'll get there, I promise. I can feel it in the rush of wind. I'm running. The run I've always dreamed of. It's incredible. I couldn't be happier. And so, yeah, it's just like the anime. It's really, really good. So, yeah. And so they catch him, and then they end up getting to be the 10th seed, just like they do in the anime. So, on page 426, we get the epilogue, which is kind of like the epilogue of the anime, but it's a little bit different. So, we have Kakeru, and he's on the side of the hill, and then this freshman comes up. So he's like, one of the freshmen comes up to Kakeru and says, I went to get some groceries from the shopping arcade. Joji's the one who's getting excited. He bought a whole plate of meat and veggies. He wants tonight to be a party. And so then they talk a little bit about it. And so the freshman's face grows serious. That's partly why I came out to jog. I was surrounded by senpais I'd never met, and I didn't know what to do. Kyosei senpai, what's he like? Haiji, why do you ask? So then the freshman says, well, Joji told me you could have gone to much stronger corporate teams if you wanted, but you chose the new team because Kyosei senpai is the coach there. So Kyosei's coaching a team of runners, and Kakeru has decided to join that team, And Kakeru says, well, I'm just not cut out for big teams, that's all. Really? The student didn't seem convinced. To be honest, today got me pretty hyped. I didn't think I'd get to meet Kyosei senpai. I made up my mind to go to Kansai and join the track team when I watched you guys compete at the Hakone Ekiden, the year when Kyosei senpai was the anchor. Kakeru plucked a tuft of grass and tossed it gently on the breeze. It's getting chilly. Let's head back. Quit being tsundere about it. So, he's like, so about what Haiji's like, Kakeru said. He's a liar. He's really good at lying, so be careful he doesn't trick you. And then a thin smile played on Kakeru's lips. Haiji said he was going to be fine, but he lied. He must have known he'd never run again. Still, he stuck to his lie till the very end. To keep his promise to me. To turn our dream into reality, the dream we all chased together. I've never been told a single lie so bold and cruel and beautiful. Yeah. So he says, the first year says, I wonder if people who are good at lying make good coaches. When you first ran at Hakone, Kyosei senpai was practically the coach, wasn't he? And now he's coaching a corporate team. Who knows? Kakeru never thought about whether Kyosei was natural at coaching. Kyosei was just Kyosei. He was always cool and collected and ready to consider things from each runner's perspective, and more earnest than anyone else when it came to the pursuit of running. Kyosei was a steady, unwavering pillar, always there for those who were drawn to the run. All I know is Haiji taught me everything, Kakeru said, except for one thing. What's that? What it means to run. That was the only thing Kyosei never taught him. Maybe he simply couldn't. Kakeru ran, still searching for the answer. He'd keep on running. There were times when he thought he'd scale the highest summit, but that sense of achievement was gone in a moment, and the answer still eluded him. You'll figure it out soon enough, Kakeru said quietly to the first year. As long as you keep running, you'll see it someday. And he's like, am I dreaming? Maybe it's come back, that one year that felt too good to be true. And so that's when they see everybody at the old house that's getting torn down like there is in the anime. So yeah, so Kakeru's going on into all details about how Haiji is like the best thing that's ever happened to him, and he's taught him all these things and everything. And I'm like, Oh, but Hanako, you subtly realized that you liked her without realizing it. Okay, sure, 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 Jan. So then, this is the thing. This is the last page of the book where it's like the windows of the Chikyusei were aglow with light. Kakeru held out his cup, gazing at the soft lights floating in the sake. Do you remember, Haiji? Instead of asking what, Kiyosei just laughed quietly. An especially loud whoop went up in the corner of the yard. A small out-of-season firework was set off, and the smell of damp gunpowder rose into the air. Kakeru and Kiyosei stood side by side, following the white trail of smoke in their eyes. So for the record, they go there, and it shows everybody hanging out. The twins, it says Hanako and the twins were putting their heads together in an animated conversation. So Kakeru just ignores Hana in this last scene and goes and stands by Kiyosei. A burst of light illuminated everyone in the yard in vivid colors. Kakeru had spent an intense year, the most rewarding of his life, with people who had become indispensable to him. A time like that might never come again. But still, do you like to run, Kakeru? One night, spring night, 4 years ago, so this is 4 years in the future, Kiyosei had posed that question to Kakeru. His face was so sincere, it was as if he was asking about the essence of life itself. I want to find out what it really means to run. Me too, Haiji, I want to know too. After all these years of running, I still haven't figured it out. Now I run to ask that question, and I'll never stop looking for the answer. I want to find out. So let's go. Let's run, wherever it takes us. The light of conviction always shone inside the heart. The path was clear and bright, a narrow line stretching on through the dark. Well, come on. Hurry up, Kakeru. Friends were calling. Kakeru took a step forward towards the circle of people gathered around the grill. Kiyosei close by his side. I'm like, I mean, it's all but clear that for Haiji, Kakeru is like the end all be all. Like that's to be clear. But then it's like, I guess to me, it feels kind of like when you watch an anime and there is a clear BL couple that you're like, oh, well, every, like, this laundry list of reasons why these two are together. And then in the 11th hour, said person in the BL couple is like, oh, well, I also have a thing for the girl character. And you're like, but what? And so then everybody's like, well, it's a thing for the girl character. And you're like, but no, clearly, every ounce of subtext says otherwise. So it's like, I like to believe that 4 years ago, before the epilogue, Kakeru had a thing for Hanako, but then after 4 years, she's still with the twins, and him and Haiji have grown closer together, and now Kakeru's like, well, maybe Haiji's more the answer than Hanako. But I don't know. I tried to look up a lot after finishing this. I tried to look up a lot of people's opinions. There are not a lot online that have, like, responses wrote about the novel. There are not a lot of critiques about the novel. There's lots of stuff on Tumblr, but most of it is just the one that I did want to point out is one that I did find, and it was basically about I wanted to find on this because it is honestly a Tumblr post that focuses on Kakeru, and this one person on Tumblr, I really, really liked this. So it was Sinko Potted. It says, hi, I have a question. For Run with the Wind, in the novel, is Hana in love with Kakeru? On Google in the fandom wiki, it says Hana was in love with Kakeru. Is that true? This is, again, why AI is a problem. I'm like, she wasn't in love with Kakeru, I don't believe. I read comments that Kakeru had a crush on Hana, but was it revealed in the novel if he still had a crush on her at the end? So I really like this person's response. They said, hi there. To be honest, I don't remember if it's ever been confirmed one way or the other as to who Hana has a crush on. So I think it pans out the unanswered vague way as it does in the anime. See, in the novel, she has a crush on the twins, though. It's kind of established with that. But I definitely remember Kakeru feeling some ways about Hana, but is too dense to understand it. Haiji notices it and tries to play Cupid to set the two up together for Kakeru to realize it for himself, and Kakeru finally clicks that he's in love with Hana when he and Joda had their conversation in the car. That much is canon. So there's wind blowing outside horribly, so my dogs are barking. So then there's the question of was Haiji trying to play Cupid and get Kakeru to hook up with Hanako? That's never really explored in the novel, because that would probably reveal if Haiji was actually like gay and liked Kakeru, which I think it's kind of hinted at, but then Haiji really likes Kakeru. But anyway, they said another canon part, and this is the fun part, is how neither boys had made a move on Hana. Remember, over here, she's a freshman attending Kansai High along with the boys, because Kakeru always thought Hana was interested in the twins, while Joji thought Hana was interested in Kakeru. Kakeru also didn't realize he was in love with Hana till that point yet, so there's that. But after realizing his feelings for her, Kakeru did think it's fine if Hana turns out to be in love with one of the twins after all, and he'd be happy for her either way. We love our respectful kings. Yeah, I'm glad that he's not like mad that she likes the twins. To me, it's like, if you're already like not pursuing her and you're just gonna let her like the twins, it's kind of like, do you really want to be with her? One of those things. He's also thought there's still plenty of time to change her mind, so there's that too. We like our competitive kings as well. I'm just like, yes, we like competitive kings, but like, no, you're supposed to be with Haiji, not her. But it's like, so it is canon. So is it canon that Kakeru's in love with Hana? Well, yes, one could say that. Do they end up together in the end? That's left up to the readers to decide, which I don't think so, because he's not with her at the end, she's with the twins. But it is also canon that after graduation, Kakeru would reject all the offers from big corporations to go and join Haiji's work team. So is it canon that they end up together in the end? Well, yes, one could say that too. And that's all she wrote. I really like their response. That's like literally the only one I could find that talks about the ending of it. It's literally the only one that talks about it. So, but it's frustrating. It's like, I honestly, I love the book. If I wasn't a shipper, I think this book would have been amazing, but I'm so in love with Kakeru and Haiji as a ship that this book kind of broke my heart a little bit, and I was like, really? And so I kind of prefer the anime. I kind of prefer the anime. I feel like the anime, because honestly, it feels like such a cop-out that at the end he's like, oh, I noticed all these moments about her that I treasured that he's never mentioned up until the final chapter. He's like the color of her scarf and all of the way that her backside looked as she rode her bike. I'm like, he's never noticed any of that the whole damn novel, but suddenly the power of subtlety has made him, he's become aware of his subtle realizations. I'm like, bullshit. I'm like, it just feels tacked on to make him seem straight, but then like everything else, which again, bisexuality is a thing, but then like be equal about it. Like if you like Hanako, say you also like Haiji, but he does. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like there's such a fight for queer representation in books that to not have it is frustrating. So for that reason, I really like the book, but I love the book to pieces, and I think it is definitely worth a read. I'm sad that it took me so long to read the final part of it, but as a shipper, I prefer the anime. 100%. Like, I would rewatch the anime, but the book is really good. I'm glad I own it. I'm glad I have it, and I'm glad I finally finished it. So, I don't know. If anybody has read the book, I would be curious what their take on it is, or what their thoughts about it are. I'm just like, it's so obvious that he loves Haiji, and it's so obvious that Haiji loves him, that I'm just kind of like, just grow a pair of balls, mangaka. Grow a pair of balls, author, and just make it canon. Why is this so hard? That being said, I also told myself I would not start Heated Rivalry until I'd finished reading Run with the Wind. So at some point in March, I don't know. I don't know if it'll be sooner than March, but at some point in March, I'm going to have a little bit of a gap opening in my channel schedule, and so I need to watch Heated Rivalry. I need to get it set up to come out at that time. It needs to happen, but we'll see. We'll see. So I'm sorry this took so long to get this out to you all. I'm sorry it took so long. I thought about putting this out on New Year's Eve, but I may put it out a little bit sooner just so that y'all can see it before New Year's Eve. But anyway, so that way you all can go watch the Hakeone Ekiden on your own time and hopefully get a chance to see that. So yeah. But thank you to Anime Annie. Thank you to Zero Anti Zero. Thank you to those that have commented on this part of me reading the novel. I know it's not like the most popular thing to see a video and reaction to, but honestly, I have really enjoyed reading the novel, and it is a great adaptation. Just the shipping part's better in the anime. But regardless, I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. I hopefully will not get emotional about shipping like that. I'm like, damn, apparently when you mess with Romania's ships, she gets emotional. I've never experienced that before until this novel, but now I know. So anyway, I'm glad I got that finished in time for 2025 to be over. Thank you so much for viewing alongside with me, and I hope you all have an amazing rest of 2025 and a great 2026. I'll have the January update video very soon, but in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll be back again real soon with more reactions. Bye.